Well, good morning everybody, it's Bob from Greybeard Models. Good to see you all again on this, what day is it today? Oh, it's Tuesday. I don't know, you lose track, you know, when you're retired. You haven't got that sort of, you know, going to work on a Monday and all that stuff. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Welcome back to everybody. Just noticed this morning I've just gone over 7,000 subs, so thank you very, very much. Really appreciate that. And anybody that's new here, if you're just dropping in, just like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, because then you'll see when one of my new videos comes up. Good to be back. We're going to carry on with the Katy, the one from Gecko Models. It's actually quite an involved build. So unfortunately I have done quite a bit off camera, mainly because I'm not confident enough to do it on camera and then screw it all up. But there you go. Anyway, let's get down to the bench and we'll have a look and see where we're at. So the first major thing that we've got done is the chassis and getting the engine on the chassis, getting the tanks on, exhaust pipe, that sort of stuff. It's quite a fragile thing. This is obviously the front axle there with the steering gear. This is very, very frail. It's actually to scale, so it is actually quite delicate at this scale. The engine is in place now. Let's get round to there. So I've got some, don't know if the light will pick it up, but we've got some detail there. I've put in the distributor is in place with spark plug leads. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but we've got the spark plug leads in place. There's a cable here that goes off to the coil. The dynamo's in place. I've actually added an extra little bracket in there because there's no bracket holding the dynamo. And one of my pet bugs is where people, engineers, design kits, and they design it so that there's a pulley off the dynamo onto the fan belt or off the fan belt, whatever. But there's actually no bracket holding the dynamo in place. It's just held in suspension on the wheel that's in the fan belt. It's a real bugbear of mine. You know, it's a key part and nobody seems to do it. But hey ho, tanks are in place, the drive's in place, the differential, the exhaust, everything else like that. So that's a good place. That's where we're at with the chassis. There's a little few bits and pieces of touch up to do, but apart from that, it's in place. It's been weathered a bit, not too much, don't like it too weathered, and it's also got some tonal variations on the paint, so I'm quite pleased with that so far. So I'm just going to move that out of the way because it is really delicate, and we'll move on to the next bits. So I like to use Vallejo Model Air. And I've got three colours here, middle stone, a UK light stone, and what they call sand ivory. Now the sand ivory is a RAL colour, RAL colour. The UK light stone is a BS 361 colour, and the middle stone is something that they've concocted. So they're the three colours that I'm going to base the colour scheme on, and to make sure that I got the sort of colour tones that I wanted, I gave this an old Spitfire wing, I think, from an old kit, and just gave them a blast of middle stone, light stone and sand, and the idea being that I could see all three colours as they would land on plastic on the primer, just so that I could get an idea of what that would look like to get the right colour scheme. I'm not entirely convinced with the Gecko colour scheme. The Gecko colour scheme is, I mean, this one of the things you've got to consider with painting pictures on instructions is that usually the Pantone tones that they use to print may not be the actual correct colour. They may be something very similar, but they may not be the actual colour. And Gecko have given us mission models and said that basically the body is light sand. It's silver in places, it's khaki, which is like this sort of the rolled up soft doors, tyre black, flat white, which is this disc at the back here, whatever that is, or it looks like it might be the diff. I'm not entirely sure how they come to that being black white. And then that's there, don't know if the glare's picked that up, that being flat white, and then mid stone. And it says here that the windows were overpainted to reduce reflections. Well, this is ice cold in Alex. In the book, because you've got to read the book, you can watch the film, read the book, it describes the cab windows here, and it describes how they're covered in a film of oil and this sand colour to reduce reflections. They also describe how the window is folded open, so it's quite an interesting book to read if you get a chance, get hold of it. And it also says here, I've gone off on a tangent, windows overpainted to reduce reflections, down there. Vehicle overall colour is light sand, and interior colour of rear cabin in mid stone. Now, according to them, mid stone is this sort of what I would call a sand colour. That's not entirely correct. My research indicates that actually the rear of the ambulance was actually more of a colour like this. Now this, it says, realising that he didn't have the colour, here we go, right, it's more like a pale, this pale sand. This is a model colour, model colour by Vallejo. And it's a pale sand, so if you look at that to my mind is more leaning towards the colour of the rear of the Katys that I've seen, and the references that I've seen, not a mid stone, which they're saying is this sort of colour. I don't think that's correct. Now, I think the closest thing I've got in the Vallejo paint is this middle one, this light stone, and I don't think that's right. If anything, sand would be right, but they're saying it's light sand is the body colour. But as you can see, the light sand here compared to the print colour is similar, but I don't believe that that's correct. Anyway, I'll stop there for now and I'll come back to you in a sec. So sorry about that, I had to stop filming. The battery went flat on the camera and it was just going, you know, it was going into one. So I'm not going back to what I was saying. So I'm not convinced about their description. I also looked at the film again, and now whether or not the internals of the ambulance they used were painted certain colours to give the cinematic look that they wanted, I don't know. But every picture I've seen of Katy's has had a really white, off-white sort of internal rear section. So I'm going to go with that because I think that's probably more correcter than what Gecko say. In terms of the body colour, I've looked at a number of other references as well, and I'm going to go with the light stone. I think the orange is the middle stone is too dark, and I think the light stone is correct, and I'll show you what I mean. So I've taken the roof of the cab and given that a coat of the UK light stone, and notwithstanding any effects the camera might have, or it getting reproduced on YouTube, I think that's a closer colour to what I want. Certainly what I want. Maybe it's not correct, I don't know. There are a lot of articles online discussing colour tones and variations in colour tones and all the rest of it, but for the sake of this kit I think I'll just go with this colour, because I actually do think that that is the closest to the colour of the kit. And I've actually looked at other things as well that I've got. I looked at the Airfix markings and what their colour schemes are going with. I looked at, you know, options and all the rest of it, but I think that's the colour I'm going to go for. And then once this is weathered, bear in mind that you're not going to get lots of chipping and stuff like that, because the majority of this bodywork was actually made from wood and canvas. That sounds really weird nowadays, but actually the whole, you know, pretty much the whole of the back end was coach built by Man Egerton in Birmingham, and they created the whole thing out of a wooden frame with canvas stretched over it, and then that was painted. So there's going to be a hell of a lot of variations in tones and colours, especially seeing as when they originally were made. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of them were just shipped out on boats to North Africa. So they've been out to sea. They've travelled quite a bit before they've actually probably got to Alexandria, and then were driven across the desert. So the whole effect of sun bleaching and all the rest of it, I think, you know, the actual tonal variations you're going to get between vehicles is going to be different. So I think I'll go with this colour. Anyway, that's enough of me prattling on about colour. I'll just take a break for a second and I'll come back. One of the things the Gecko kit does provide is alternatives for the storage cabinets that are at the rear of the bodywork. If we just go back to the underside of the chassis, they provide this sort of brass construction, photo-etch brass construction, with water cans. These are the, let's see if I can bring that up. So that's, oh, is that not going to have it? No, of course it's not. Right, we'll bring it down there. So they're sort of water cans, and Gecko would have you assemble a photo-etch framework like this. I've soldered this together. The reason I've done that is because I don't think that if it was done with super glue, I don't think it would hold together very well. It's tricky, don't get me wrong, it is tricky to solder and keep square and all that sort of thing, but looking at it on some of the oh, gone out of shot, haven't I? So yeah, so I've soldered it rather than super glued it, because I didn't think it would actually hold together very well with super glue. It's quite a flimsy construction anyway, and as you can see, it's once you start handling it, it sort of goes out square a bit, but once it's all sorted out and sort of eased into shape, it's gone out square because I'm a clumsy sod, but there you go. And then you can use it to contain your water cans, or flimsies as they were. Once these are in place, there's another piece of photo etch that goes across the front, and there's also a locating pin that needs to be soldered onto the frame, and a padlock. So that was there just to hold everything in place, and then that gets stuck to the underside of the body. I think it's a really nice little piece of detail. It's a shame that Airfix just went ahead and just put a couple of blocks there, but you know, Airfix is Airfix. So anyway, I think that's about all I've got to put together for you at the moment. There's loads of stuff that's sort of all in sort of half preparation and stuff like that. For example, I've painted the stretchers. They're done now, and I've done those in a sort of khaki type colour, and I've tried to make it so that it wasn't all sort of one tone. I've got to go over it again with a wash, but they're sort of in preparation. There's lots of parts that are all in sort of preparation at the moment, and so a lot of these little jobs are going to get done, and there'll come a point where everything is in preparation and everything is sort of ready to sort of all go together in one go. And one of the other things is the cab. I've painted this in the body colour that I want. You've got the foot pedals there, so you've got the two, you know, your brake, your clutch and your accelerator, and also these need tidying up. I haven't quite done that yet, but it's under a wash of gloss varnish. So next stage on this is get the decals in for the dials and to start weathering the floor and that sort of thing. One of the things I would say is that I think this is a wooden floor. I don't think it's aluminium or anything like that, just looking at it. So that will need to be done. And then the other side here, coming into shot again, so the other side here is where you have the fuse box, one of the electrical boxes. I'm not sure what that is, and I think that this is where the coil would be. On the reference pictures that I've seen, it's where the coil would be. So I'm going to have to fabricate a coil, because what they've provided in the kit I don't think is accurate. So I'm going to do that. But yeah, pretty much that's where we are at the moment. If you've enjoyed it all this time, thank you, and many thanks to all the new subscribers for dropping in, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.